Just a few minutes ago, I was thinking about why it is that two people can hear the same argument about the existence of God, and one person finds it persuasive and the other doesn't. And of course, a lot of that has to do with our presuppositions and things like that. But I got to thinking, there's something else to it. A lot of times, with some principles like the law of non-contradiction, or even the whole idea that all events must have causes, or that nothing can begin to exist without a cause, it's the sort of thing that you either see it or you don't. And it's kind of like an analogy I came up with was like the Pythagorean theorem. Most people know the Pythagorean theorem. It's a way of figuring out the length of the hypotenuse. If you know the other two sides, if you got a right triangle, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, most people have that memorized and everything, so they know how to use it. But not everybody sees it. In other words, not everybody sees why a squared plus b squared equals c squared, And I didn't see it for a long time either, till I got out a ruler and started drawing lines on a triangle and sort of figured it out logically why that has to be true. And I suspect maybe it's the same thing with some of these proofs for the existence of God. A person can memorize the argument, understand the argument, know the argument, and all this kind of stuff, but they don't find it persuasive because they don't see it. And anyway, it's just a theory. So there you have it. Why have an attitude of general skepticism whenever you're confronted with a new idea or something like that? Well, I can tell you why I do. It's not because I don't trust anybody else, really. It's because I don't trust myself. I know that I can make mistakes in thinking. I know that I've been gullible in the past. And I know I'm not a genius. Did I just say that? Seriously, though. It's because I could be wrong about something, and I'm generally skeptical because I don't want to be duped. There you have it. The moral argument, well, the clam cosmological argument, depends on foundationalism, because it depends on the notion that nothing begins to exist without a cause. Well, that's not the sort of thing I think that can be proved. It's sort of the thing you either see or you don't. And that's something I thought about blogging on, was these foundational items of knowledge, and the fact that a person can learn that something is true without understanding why it's true, or without actually seeing it rationally, like 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now, almost anybody can just think about that and see why it must be true. But if somebody was trying to remember what the cop up there, what the multiplication of something like 6 times 7 is. I mean, not everybody can immediately. I'm trying to keep the sun out of your eyes here. Where is the sun? Oh yeah, okay. Not everybody can immediately see that 7 times 6 is 42. It's just something we memorize. Most people just simply memorize the times table, and they believe it because they have worked out the math before. They've added 6 7 times, or 7 6 times, or whatever, at some point in their lives. So they have proven to their own satisfaction that it is true. But, another example is like, and this is an example from my own experience, is triangles. There's a rule in geometry that says that the sum of the interior angles of any triangle, regardless of what shape it is, well, I guess all triangles are triangular, but you know what I mean. But anyway, they all come out to 180 degrees. Now, I used to not be able to see that. It was something that I put into practice because my teacher said so. It worked, and I did the math, and I had no problem doing the math and everything, and doing geometry and stuff. But I just did it because I memorized that rule. Even though I knew the rule was true, I didn't see it. I didn't rationally apprehend that it was true. And it wasn't until, it was driving me nuts one day, and I got out a piece of paper, and I started drawing triangles and drawing lines, based on what was intuitively obvious to me. And eventually I basically proved to myself that the interior angles of any triangle do come out to be 180 degrees. And from then on, I saw it. And it wasn't the sort of thing that I relied on somebody else teaching me about. I saw it for myself. And I sometimes think that maybe that has something to do with why two people can hear the same argument, one person be totally convinced and another person to not be convinced. The transcendental argument is just such a case. Seems like there's a lot of people out there, especially Calvinists for some reason. I don't know why it is that Calvinists latch onto this argument so much. But you know, people that latch onto this argument are just totally convinced that this absolutely proves that God exists. Because they think that logic depends on a mind. If there's logic, which is necessary, then there must be a necessary mind for logic to be based on, because logic are rules of thought. Well, I don't find the transcendental argument at all persuasive, one bit, because I don't think that the laws of logic are laws of thought. I think that the laws of logic are laws of being. The reason we ought to think logically is because reality is logical. You know, it's not as if you can't think that a cat can be pregnant and not pregnant at the same time and in the same sense. It's that cats in reality cannot be both pregnant and not pregnant at the same time and in the same sense. So I think laws of logic are laws of being, not laws of thought. And they would go on, they would be just as true whether there was any mind that apprehended them or not. I mean, seems obvious to me because, I mean, of course we can think illogically. Anybody can think illogically. But reality cannot be illogical. So if you want your thoughts to correspond to reality, then you have to think logically. I can only speculate about why it is that people think that logic are laws of thought. I suppose it's because of the way logic is taught. Logic is taught as a way to reason. And if it's a way to reason, then it dictates the way people ought to think. And so people say, well, logic is a law of thought. But I think the mistake is in not asking the question, why must we think logically? Because reality is logic. If you want your thinking to correspond to the way the world really is, then you have to think consistently with the way the world really is, and the world really is logical. And so, that's what I think. And what's his name? Ronald Nash agrees with me. In his book, Faith and Reason, towards the end of it, or it may have been Worldviews and Conflict, I don't remember, one of those books, he argued that that the laws of logic are not just laws of thought, they're laws of being. And I don't remember what his argument was, but I totally agree with him. And he's a Calvinist, or he was anyway. I think he's dead now. Which, you know, if Calvinism is true, I guess he still is a Calvinist. That's about it. Well, it's probably not it, but you know me, I can think and talk at the same time. Bye.